Port Arthur reported a victory. But though Japanese opinion was not quite satisfied, Ito had so damaged the Chinese fleet that henceforth he held command of the sea. He had won his success with comparatively small loss. Of all the units of his fleet, his flagship, the Matsushima, had suffered most. She had 2 officers killed and 3 wounded, and 33 men killed and 71 wounded, a total of 109, and about a third of the losses in the entire fleet. The Hiyei came next in the casualty list, with 56 killed and wounded. The losses of the other ships were trifling. The Ikitsushima had 31 killed and wounded, the Akagi 28, the Akitsushima 15, the Fuso 14, and the Yoshino and Saikyo each 11. The Takachiko had an officer and 2 men wounded. The Naniwa Kan, Captain Togo's ship, 1 man wounded. The Chiyoda, which lay next to the Matsushima in the main squadron, had not one single casualty. The official return of losses gave these totals: officers killed, 10. Officers wounded, 16. Total officers lost, 26. Men killed, 80. Men wounded, 188. Total men lost, 268. Total killed, 90. Total wounded, 204. Total losses, 294. There are no available returns of the Chinese loss. It was certainly much heavier, perhaps 1,000 men, but thanks to their armour, the 2 battleships suffered comparatively little loss, notwithstanding the terrible fire to which they were exposed for hours. The Ting Yuen had 14 killed and 20 wounded, the Chen Yuen 7 killed and 15 wounded. The 2 ships afterwards took part in the defence of Wei Hai Wei, where one was torpedoed and the other captured by the Japanese. When the first reports of the Yalu battle reached Europe there was much exaggerated talk about the value of the protected cruiser. It was even said by amateur naval experts that this type and not the battleship would be the warship of the future. It is almost needless to say that the battle conveyed no such lesson. If anything, it rather proved the enormous resisting power of the armoured ship. If Ting, instead of his 2 antiquated coast defence armourclads, had had a couple of up-to-date battleships manned with trained crews, he would certainly have disposed of a good many of the Japanese cruisers. The Japanese quite realized this, and proceeded to build a heavily armoured fleet. The most valuable lesson of the battle was the warning of the danger of fires lighted by exploding shells. This had an immediate influence on ship construction, and on the methods adopted by all navies in clearing for action. But the most important point of all was that the conduct of the Japanese officers and men in the battle, and in the subsequent naval operations in the siege of Wei Hai Wei, made the world realize that a new naval power had arisen in the Far East. End of Chapter 12, Part 2. Recording by Nick Number.